What's up, YouTube? It's the Action Figure Grader coming back to you with another video. And I received these in the mail yesterday from Walmart, and I wanted to give it a day to sleep on it and to cool down a little bit. If you guys follow me on Instagram or if you follow me on Twitter, you know how I feel about these store exclusives and Walmart's inability to package items for collectors that we spend our hard-earned money on, that we pre-order and wait for months on. And I hate to be that kind of video again, but you know, these arrived yesterday from Walmart, and every single one of them was destroyed because of Walmart's ineptitude. Now, what's interesting is that I made two separate orders of two. I ordered two Death Star droids and two Tusken Raiders. So I had two total orders, but then I received three boxes. Well, I shouldn't say that. I received one box with two Tusken Raiders, and then I received two Jiffy bags. Jiffy bag. One with each, one Jiffy bag had a Death Star droid in each. Now, the weird thing is that in terms of the Walmart distribution centers, all of these came from their Spartanburg distribution center. So why did they package them in separate Jiffy bags instead of putting them in a box? And so these are the Tusken Raiders that arrived in one box. I was hopeful that I'd get some in good shape, right? So let's take a look at the first one. So you've got creases, you got dings on the blister. It's actually got a crack on the blister, you know, beat up down here, beat up here. So it's because they took a box, and the box was plenty big enough to fit two of these in there safely and transport them safely, which Entertainment Earth has proven capable of doing. You know, you saw the Electro Staff Purge Troopers that I just received from them. They were shipped in the exact same size box as what Walmart shipped these in, but Entertainment Earth took care with how they packaged the goods. Now look at this one. This was, again, shipped in a box. This is how it was in there. So what happened was they put this one in the box, and then they put this one in the box like this, and it just shoved it down there. So you know, it blows my mind that they're incapable of hiring workers at these distribution centers that will package these things in a manner that doesn't destroy them. I mean, look at that. So that's the Tusken Raider. Now let's really quickly let's indeed give some props to the quality of this figure. It looks awesome in terms of looks. Now, what's negative about it is that Hasbro has made one of these hands apparently so fragile that it snaps right off, and people are boiling and popping and using a Dremel drill kit to kind of reattach the arms. So, you know, clearly from a mint on card collector perspective, which is what I am, I don't particularly care about that, but it's pretty pathetic when Hasbro can't even produce a figure that stays together without falling apart. But it's an iconic card back. You know, it looks great if it was in actually good condition. There's Luke and the Tusken Raider and the Death Star droid. Now, I was expecting to really like the Death Star droid, and I hate it. I think that he looks frumpy. He looks like Homer Simpson wearing a robot outfit. He just looks kind of dumpy. And the card back is amazing. I love it. But the actual figure itself, I'm not impressed with at all. I got to be honest with you. It's too small. He looks just dumpy to me. I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it, except the torso area looks too large, and he's too short and squat. I think the paint apps are pretty good. You know, it'd be better if it was vac metallized, obviously. But now these arrived in Jiffy bags. Now look how this one arrived. I mean, look at that card back. Look at the blister. So, you know, I think at this point, I owe an apology to the resellers and to the scalpers, I guess, if you're using a negative term. I owe them an apology because, you know what? They're the ones that have to put up with this garbage, you know? And to me, I'm willing to pay a premium to a reseller if they can guarantee me an item that's in excellent condition, because clearly Walmart is incapable of doing that. And why Hasbro continues to work with them, this is how they arrived. I mean, look at this. I mean, we waited months for these. We had to pre-order them using their inane pre-ordering process, you know, on Walmart, where they constantly go out of stock and back in stock, and you get, you know, in stock alerts, and then you go to the website and there's nothing there, and then it's out of stock again. So I have to make an apology to the resellers because they're willing to put up with this crap. You know, they're the ones that have to like sort through their pre-orders when they arrive, and return the ones that are damaged, and so, you know, based on my hit rate of 0 out of 4, I've spoken with other collectors, which we'll talk about in a moment. I had one collector who ordered the Lukes, the Death Star droids, and the Tusken Raiders. He ordered multiples of them, and it was something like 25 figures. And of the 25, all 25 were in this kind of condition, just completely destroyed. So Walmart's going to be getting a lot of returns. And I guess my question to Hasbro is, if you're going to produce these as store exclusives, and the percentage of returns to Walmart of these store exclusives, they're already in limited enough batches as it is, right? We've talked about that in past videos. Standard TVC, based on conversations with people who are in the know, standard characters run about 40,000 units per, worldwide, per character. What are these store exclusives? They're probably even less than that. And when you have such a dramatic number of them that are being destroyed because of your retail distribution partners' inability to package them safely and deliver them to customers that paid money for them in good condition. I mean, I would love to know what the return rate's going to be to Walmart because of Walmart's stupidity. And if I'm Hasbro, here's the argument that, or devil's advocate, that collectors are making, the argument that they're making. Well, if it wasn't for these store exclusives, we wouldn't be getting them at all. Well, guess what? If you're going to deliver the item in this kind of condition, I'd rather not have them at all. Rather than going through the headache of trying to spend hours on their ordering process and going out of stock and back in stock and dealing with how bad that is, to waiting months and then receiving it in this kind of condition, and then having to go through the return process and then go anyway online and pay the markup to get one that's in clean condition. I'd almost rather not have store exclusives at all. And even if that means not having the figure at all. So Hasbro already would, if they had their druthers, Hasbro would do away with the TVC line anyway. They were almost forced, their hand was almost forced by collectors and by the uproar and back TVC and everything else, where they've expanded the line. They've already admitted their profitability on the 3 3/4 inch line is not nearly what the Black Series line is. And if they had their druthers, they would just get rid of it anyway. So let's keep that in mind. Let's not give Hasbro too much credit for some of these figures, when if they had their way, they would probably not put up with, not deliver these at all. So I hear that argument about we wouldn't have them at all. But would you rather have them like this? I mean, to me, I'd rather them charge a higher premium. Instead of charging $15 or whatever the number is, charge us $22 and deliver them in star cases. Make them only available in Hasbro Direct, so they're cut to the middleman, Walmart in this case. Their profitability per unit would be higher since they're selling them direct. Well, and the other argument is, Hasbro gets preferential shelf space at retail for their other items like games and other toy lines by doing these store exclusives. Well, there's other ways to handle that too. Why can't you come up with some kind of incentive program, or not incentive program, that's not the right word, some kind of royalty program where, if Walmart will sell a certain number of units, that you'll pay them a premium or a royalty, or just flat out pay them for shelf space. I'm sure other toy companies do that. Okay. And so I feel like if that's truly the case, where Walmart is holding Hasbro holding Hasbro ransom to get these store exclusives by saying that we will give you worse shelf space for your other toy lines and board games if you don't give us these store exclusives, and then they deliver the products to customers like this, making collectors and making their, Hasbro's customers angry at Hasbro. I feel like there's another way here. I feel like there's another way. And, I feel like collectors need to kind of wake up a little bit. And that's just my personal opinion. You can do what you want to do, but to me, we should not be accepting of this kind of customer service. And I put my money where my mouth is. As you see in this graphic, I've canceled every single one of my TVC animated Clone Wars pre-orders that were scheduled to come out next spring, that were Walmart exclusives. I ordered over $300 worth of them because I was going to give them away on my channel. All right. And I was going to give them to friends, and I was going to grade some and give them to supporters, Patreon supporters, and to some of my friends, and keep a couple for myself. So I had $300 worth of those Clone Wars TVC pre-ordered. I canceled every one of them yesterday. I'm not willing to tolerate this anymore. And if more collectors would actually take a stand and actually do that, then Hasbro might listen. And I think the problem is that collectors, they hem and they haul, they moan and they groan, and then quietly, when a new wave gets announced that looks cool, like that Clone Wars animated TVC wave, they go and quietly order it, despite their protestations about how Hasbro treats their customers through their inept retail distribution partners. So until you take a stand and stop pre-ordering stuff, it's going to continue. We saw it with VC 177, the Mandalorian with Child, and then the Incinerator Trooper, which was misnumbered the same number. Those were arriving into collectors' hands damaged, which we've already talked about at length. We saw it with Leia Endor. Now we're seeing it with these other 50th anniversary TVC that are store exclusives. So at some point, we as collectors have to throw up our hands and say, look, I'm not putting up with it anymore. And I've reached that point personally. If I get these at all, I'm going to get them from the resellers. I'm going to reward the resellers for having to take the time to sort through all the garbage like this, keep the mint ones, and then go through the returns process for the ones that are damaged. So if they're willing to deal with that, then I'm willing to pay them the premium for delivering to me an item that will be in mint condition. And I'm not happy about it, but that's the way it is. And I think until everyone else starts doing that, and Hasbro starts seeing a drop in pre-orders, which they never will. I mean, people will never do what I'm asking them to do, or recommending that they do, suggesting that they do. But until it changes, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get more of this kind of garbage. So now let's go take a look at what other people are saying on Facebook. And I want you to keep in mind that in the U.S. Facebook TVC group, there's a dedicated thread to retailers' poor shipping packaging. That's how bad this problem is. They have a whole dedicated thread on the Facebook TVC US page for this. Okay, I'm back, and we're going to go through some comments on the Vintage Collection US Facebook page. But before I begin this, I want to mention something. First, my channel is small, okay? It's really tiny. It's a tiny grain of sand in a storm-tossed sea of cow dung, okay? No one cares about what I have to say for the most part, except for you guys who are watching this. But there are others out there, and they know who there are. I'm not going to name names, but there's others out there with larger platforms on all kinds of social media, not just YouTube. But you guys have access to Hasbro. You guys have access to their PR people. You guys do live streams with them and all these cutesy little PR events where they do product reveals and all this other junk. You need to start asking the uncomfortable questions, okay? I think you're doing your fans a disservice. You're doing customers a disservice by not asking the question. Hasbro needs to be uncomfortable. You need to make them squirm. You need to be brutally honest with them. And stop tiptoeing around this issue. It's been going on long enough, and it's been going after wave of these store exclusives, where I'd like to see some of you guys step up and ask the questions that need to be asked from Hasbro. And Hasbro, they need to get their little team together from all their little departments, and they need to do a nice little martini lunch or a golf outing and say, hey, we got to fix this. And they're not going to do it until you guys step up and start asking the brutal questions and make them really, really uncomfortable. And I hope that you take that to heart and you'll do something about it. You guys have access to it. The fans helped revive the Vintage Collection line. Their pocketbooks helped pay for a lot of these releases and these figures. And don't get me wrong, when Hasbro does something right, like the Ahsoka wave that just came out, and how awesome that wave was, they need to be rewarded for it. But more importantly, when they do stuff wrong, which they keep doing with these store exclusives, they need to be held accountable for it. And they're not going to if you don't get uncomfortable with them and start really making them uncomfortable. So I hope that you guys will do that. All right. Now let's go over to the Facebook page. And so here is a thread that John Nico, one of the admins over at the TVC group, he started a poor packaging from mass retail thread. So that's how bad this problem is. And I love John to death. He does so much for the community. But I think this is a bad idea, personally, because it allows Hasbro to compartmentalize the issue. If they want to ignore this thread, they can ignore this thread. There has to be a different way to do it rather than combining everything into one thread that Hasbro can ignore. We should be able to post it in some manner where we tag somebody at Hasbro, and every time that somebody posts bad packaging that arrives at their doorstep, they get pinged. Ping, ping, ping. They get tagged on it. And I understand that John is trying to minimize clutter to the TVC group Facebook page and to prevent it from turning into a moaning and groaning and complaining page. But compartmentalizing all of these complaints into one thread allows Hasbro to ignore the problem. And clearly that's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. They're ignoring the problem because it keeps happening dating back to last fall and probably before that. So I hope that John will figure out a different solution. And I hope that he'll, whatever connections you guys at the TVC group have, not just John, but everybody, whatever connections you have to Hasbro, I hope that you'll make this loud and clear and present them the data and these pictures. But, anyway, this thread was started June 27th, and that really times back to the Leia, Endor, and the Paploo and all those. But, got a box and padded mailer envelope, and this is how they're arriving. I mean, every one of these is damaged. 12 out of 16 significant damaged. I mean, 12 out of 16. You order 16 and 12 of them arrive damaged? I guess, the other thing I'll say is this: whether you're an opener or, whatever, or if you're maybe not as discerning a collector, I've seen a lot of posts like this where they say, well, it's only got one ding. Well, it's only got one crease on the card, so I'm okay with it. No, you shouldn't be okay with it. You should return it. Because if they don't deliver the product as advertised, which they're not doing, right? I mean, look at this. It's completely crushed. Then they need to be held accountable. You need to return it. So they start seeing these return numbers. And you're silently allowing this to happen if you don't return it, in my opinion. I mean, all of these photos, look at this. I mean, it's just, Walmart hates us. Yes, they do. And I think to Hasbro's 0 for 7 on ATST driver mint cards. 0 for 7. And that was John, the TVC. That was 9 weeks ago. Every one of them destroyed. He just did a live stream yesterday showing him unboxing everything. And the live stream got cut off because of a bad connection on his cell phone. But when I left off, he had opened 10 different packages, and all 10 of them, they were damaged. So, look at this. This is how my Death Star droids arrived. Just like that. They were just crushed on the inside. Look at this one. Is this acceptable to you guys as collectors, whether you're openers or not? If you paid money and you waited months for it, are you okay with receiving an item like that? If you're not, then you need to return it. That's my personal opinion on it. Every one of these. This is all from the last wave. I mean, I haven't even gotten to the new wave yet. I mean, so the other thing I'll say is this: Hasbro, why don't you do a weekend kind of workshop and pay Hasbro factory employees to show up to it? Pay them $100. Give them a $100 gift card to Hasbro Direct. If they'll show up, and so you can show them how to properly package stuff. You might want to talk to Entertainment Earth or Big Bad Toy Store or Dorkside on how to do that, because all three of those guys know how to pack stuff, yet Hasbro doesn't. So, to me, it's unacceptable. And if your return rates are high enough on these low produced figures anyway. Is that considered acceptable for your retail partners to be doing this? So, I mean, I haven't even gotten to the latest wave. I'm scrolling all the way through all this stuff. I mean, Endor Lukes were slightly damaged. Everything else looks good. Well, in my opinion, you should send those ones that are damaged back, in my opinion, and don't just accept it. So, I mean, so the breadth of I mean, look at this. This is how John's items were delivered. Look at all these little mailer bags. Why is why is Walmart paying for separate packaging for each of these? They're so inefficient. It's almost like if they run out of boxes, they just say, we'll just throw it in bags. So again, look at this. This is the one I was trying to find. Walmart sent it in this gigantic box. They sent one item in this gigantic box. So it's almost like Walmart just said, we're out of the normal size boxes, so let's just throw it in here, and it's well protected. No, it's not, because it's just going to bang around inside this gigantic box. That is such a waste of money in terms of shipping, that you think that they would figure this out. It blows my mind. So anyway, I hate to put out another one of these videos that talks about the stupidity of store exclusivity, but it's an epidemic at this point. It's a wave after wave of this that keeps happening, and until you start speaking with your pocketbook as collectors, it's just going to keep happening. And until those who have some sort of inside track or connections at Hasbro, until you start asking the uncomfortable questions publicly and put them on the spot, it's going to keep happening, and they're going to keep ignoring the problem. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm sorry if this is your first video. I'm sorry that this has to be it, but usually I try to be a little bit more positive and talk about the joys of Star Wars collecting. But it's days like this that make me wonder whether I'm going to continue to buy any of these modern TVC figures, because it's not worth the hassle to me. So, but anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll be back soon.